Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to the Total War Developer Session. So today it is our great pleasure to reveal to you the next game in the Total War series. Now, this is the follow-up to Rome 2. It's a standalone game, and of course, it's a fully featured Total War title with all that entails. Without further ado, I'm going to pass you over to the man who is going to make your life a living hell.
Not me.
It's not him.
You built an empire beyond imagining. The pinnacle of human achievement and the envy of the world. Did you think it would last? The Eternal City. That glorious monument to power, culture, and learning. But the old wolf lies wounded by jackals, circled by vultures. Worried to death by 1,000 tiny, vicious mouths brought low by your own arrogance. These are the death throes of Rome. The light of civilization dims and gathers. And you've such precious time left to hide your women, for your children to cry. Even at the moment of your final defeat, you will take no comfort in oblivion. For I am coming for you. I ride with 1,000,000 warriors! I bring the end of days! I am the Scourge of God! And I will watch your world burn.
So, Attila the Hun. This guy is the herald of the apocalypse. He is the one who knocks. So he is the big bad guy in the next Total War game, in Total War Attila. Now, the game is set in 395 AD. And this is really the very dawn of the Dark Ages. It's a time of great upheaval in the world. It's a time when climate has been cooling right across Europe. It's a time when entire populations have been migrating away from those cooler climates, migrating away from famine, from disease, and from deprivation. And inserted into this darkening landscape, we've got the rising power of Scythia and the horsemen of the Huns. And Attila himself, who will rise to lead 1,000,000 horsemen and sweep westward in a stunning assault, aiming his armies at the heart of the Western Roman Empire. So what we're going to do is take a look at some campaign gameplay first. So if we could switch over, please. Now, everything you're about to see is pre-alpha. We're not releasing until next year, so everything here is work in progress. But what you're seeing here is the overview map for the campaign map in Attila. Now, we're playing as the Western Roman Empire here. Now, at this point, the Roman Empire has become so big and bloated that it's become unmanageable from a single administrational center, so it's split into two. And these are two playable factions, the Eastern Roman Empire and the Western Roman Empire. Now, we're playing as the Western Roman Empire, and this is a big challenge. It's what we're calling Total War's first legendary start position, because playing as the Western Roman Empire, you've got a Saxon invasion, like just a few turns into the game, going on in England here. We've got hordes of barbarians pouring southwards to escape this cooling climate, attacking us there. In the south, we've had a series of war declarations in North Africa. We are absolutely surrounded. We're being hounded on all sides. And our only real friends here is an alliance with the Eastern Roman Empire. So this is kind of a case of survival strategy. You have to figure out almost what you can afford to lose before you can fight from a position of strength. So just taking a look at some of the overlays on the map here, there's a lot of ways we can see snapshots of the health of our empire, so we can check the religious disposition across our territories, for example, very important to this period. We can check sanitation. Again, a real key feature here, and we'll come on to sanitation and why that's so important in the game. And we've also got this fantastic new geographic overlay as well, which gives us a very clear overview of the actual territories on the campaign map themselves, so we can judge great choke points to control on the map, or see just how far threats are from our censored population or our armies. So what we're going to do is jump down to the campaign map now, and have a look at some of the features of the campaign map. So we've jumped down to Londinium here. Now, we've made a number of important changes, improvements and upgrades and optimizations to the graphics in the campaign map for Attila. The first of which is very simple. We've relaxed the rules on camera zoom. So now what we can do is zoom right out to this sky eye view, and you can really get a sense of location in the world. You can really see where you are. You can reference your own geography in your head for what the countries are you're kind of flying over. It gives you a greater sense of control over your campaign as well. So now we're going to do a little flyby here of the boundaries of the Western Roman Empire. And as we do, I'll point out some of the other changes. So we've really worked hard on the normal maps across the campaign map here. And what this gives us, what this lets us do is aim and hit a much higher level of texture fidelity. So you can really see that on the map here. You can see the details are really popping, compared to previous games. We've also worked on creating a whole body of new types of vegetation across the map to really differentiate the different climate regions on the map. And also, as you can see in the sky is much clearer here down in Africa, we've got a ton of new lighting volumes across the map as well, which give us the ability to really define the areas of the world by their climate and give you a real sense of location, a sense of place. As we go over to sort of southern Spain here, you can see our sea shaders improved as well. We've got a nice, real twinkly wave caps, and it's a much more realistic looking sea compared to what we've been able to achieve before. And as we track back up through Europe to the southern point of England, again, you can see the sky thickening, you can see the clouds rolling in, and you can get this sense of a much rainier, much wetter environment. Again, reiterating that sense of location in the world. So we'll take a quick look at faction management now. So the eagle-eyed among you may notice that we've reinstituted the family tree for Total War Attila. Hey, thank you. It's important to note this isn't just a visual change as well. This isn't just a representation. This is a way of involving the characters in your family and the other important characters who appear in your campaign over time and really getting them to interact with the different game systems. So, we can further the political careers of our characters here. We can do away with them if they're not working on our behalf. But one really important thing is assigning roles. So we're going to take one of the important characters here and assign him the governorship of Britannia Superior here. Now, as a governor, we've placed him in a regional seat there in the province of Britannia Superior. Now, he's going to take all the skills he's built up over his political career, and he's going to apply those, in a buff-like way to the province he's the governor of. He's also going to appear in the battle map. If you're defending that city and your garrison force is led by a general, he's going to be your general. So all the skills he's got as a warrior will also be useful in that as well. So, this is a really, really kind of important new change for Total War. So we can also issue edicts now he's in place. Instead of the previous system where we had control all the regions in a province, you can issue edicts, we can now need a governor in place to enact those for us, so he does it on our behalf. So we're going to act ecumenical matters here, which is one of our new religious edicts. Now if we take a quick look at the record screen, this is the event feed. Now, this is a growing log of every single thing that happens in your... Look at places in the world, for example, where there have been real hotspots. Now, the really cool thing about this is that we're working on a system where you'll be able to upload this to your own page on totalwar.com and then share your campaign history through a series of visualizations, charts and graphs and tables and this sort of thing, with other Total War players, so your pals on Reddit or, other people in your clan. So we think this is a really nice feature for Total War fans who routinely share their own, kind of campaign histories with each other anyway. So we'll take a quick look at building management now. We have a new building browser. So if we click this, now this is an example of how we're trying to improve our UI to make it really useful to the player, all through the game. But here with the building browser, we can see all the building types down the left here, and we can really plan our construction projects ahead of time. And of course, see which buildings we can and can't build because we may need to unlock technologies to be able to build those buildings. Now, Craig is looking at the sanitation chain here. Now that's really, sanitation, as I mentioned earlier, is a really important factor. In Rome 2, we had this kind of tension between sanitation and squalor. You know, if your squalor went too high, you'd start getting public order problems. At this point in history, if you let your squalor reign supreme, diseases will break out, and diseases are really bad news. So over on the east coast of England here, Camalodunum, which is, of course, Colchester in modern day, you can see this miasmic cloud that's rising here. A disease has broken out here, and diseases, as I said, they're really bad news. They're transmittable. Armies can take them around the map and give them to other cities, you know, friendly or enemy. You know, they'll affect that army. They might fight more, you know, they might fight with less commitment if they're all a bit ill and coughing on the battlefield. But they can also, really bad diseases can tear through your population and do you real damage, and damage your ability to make money, for example, across the campaign. And they're really different infectiousness and severity. So, yeah, it's the time of the plague. So, you know, we want to put that in front of players. So a quick look at tech trees. Instead of the kind of multiple smaller tech trees that we went for with Rome 2, we've again decided just to make life easier for the player and bring all our tech trees together in a single panel. So you can compare technologies, and it makes it much easier for you to compare those different technologies and decide on your technological progression through the course of the game. Similarly, if we take a look at a general here, we've done away with the kind of traits card stacking system that we had in Rome 2 and opted to turn characters' skill progression via trees, which again lets you compare you know, the different skills that you have and really plan your technological progression much better. Same is true of armies as well. And crucially, this panel down the side here, you know, this is part of our philosophy of bringing information that's relevant to the player right up where they need it. This is simple list of all the buffs and debuffs on that particular army according to the skills they've got, what's, you know, the skills their general is imbuing them with, or, you know, any diseases they might have, or any negative modifiers and stuff like that. So, you know, again, we really want to make this stuff useful to the player. Okay, we're going to look at one last feature of the game now, and this is one of the real period-inspired features that's going to really change the way you play your campaign game in Attila. Now, if we look at the context of the situation here, we've got a Saxon invasion force has landed on the east coast of England near York. Now, these two armies, we are outnumbered 2-1. They're clearly going to make a break for that city and try and capture it, and, you know, capture all the economic potential and the recruitment potential of that city. We've only got one army, and if we look at our garrison forces, we've got a weak showing here with 3 units and a single bastion onager. So, you know, chances are we're not going to be able to hold on to that, but we can still deny all the economic and recruitment and production potential of that city to the enemy by simply wiping it from the face of the earth, which is, you know, we've never really been able to do before. So what we're going to do is we're going to move our general and his army south in an attempt later to consolidate with other armies and build from that position of strength I mentioned before. And what we're going to do is abandon this city completely. So we abandon it and we hit end turn. What this does is we take a measure of cash, you know, some wealth out of that city, and then we literally wipe it from the face of the earth. The city is no more. It's an empty hole in the ground, desolate. So we've created a wasteland here, and it's damaged the fertility in that region as well. It's damaged the ability for troops to replenish in that region because all the farms have been destroyed, right? So what we're doing here is creating zones of no value for an encroaching enemy. And as I said, playing as the Western Roman Empire, when you're going to have to be retreating and trying to build a position of strength closer in, this is going to be kind of a key tactic. But it can also, of course, be used in a defensive fashion as well, you know, as you're marching across the campaign map. So, okay, we're going to stop the campaign gameplay there. We've got a lot more to talk about in future, but we'll show it when we're ready. For now, that's the campaign game 4. That's a brief look at the campaign gameplay for Attila. So if we could switch over now. Now, what we're going to do is Craig's going to join me up on stage, and Dom Starr, who's one of our designers for Attila, is going to join me up on stage here as well. And we are going to show you some battle gameplay.
Hello. Hello, can you hear me? You can hear me. Excellent. Brilliant. Lovely. Hello, people of London. How's your EGX been so far?
Hello.
Excellent. Thank you. You're all a part of Total War history. You have just witnessed the announcement of Total War Attila. So give yourselves a big round of applause. Okay, I'm going to stop walking around now in front of this big screen, and I'm going to talk about what you're seeing in front of you. So James is going to be playing this battle for us right now. We are in London, both here and actually here. This is Londinium in 395 AD. So take in the sounds, take in the sights. We can't take in the smells, which is probably a good thing given that it's 395 AD and it's probably going to stink. But this is Total War Attila's battle map. This is one of the typical battles that you'll see in Attila, and James is playing as the Western Roman Empire, and he's facing a Saxon invasion. Sort of a similar setup to you saw on the campaign map there. So this is the kind of typical battle, as I was saying. James is kind of up against it, and James considers himself to be a very good Total War player. Should say this battle is unscripted. Could go either way. So James, no pressure. Just to say, it's not just me and the guys at the studio who will be taking the mick out of you if you lose this. It will be the entire internet. So please do wail on him on Twitch chat if he's losing. Okay, so just to give you an idea of some of the different features that we have in Total War Attila, one of the new ones is siege escalation. So basically, the longer you siege a city on the campaign map, the more attrition it will suffer, and that will carry over onto the battle side. So you get this really nice connection between your campaign and your battle gameplay. So we can see here, this is the highest level of siege escalation that we have for a city. And in this particular example, you can see the wall has completely crumbled here. We've got a massive gap that the enemy could pour through if James doesn't erect his defenses properly. So he's got to think really tactically about how to deal with that situation. Also, you can see it's a lot darker, smokier. There's fire on the battlefield. And that's not just cosmetic. You know, you've got this real apocalyptic, smoky look and feel. It's a darker time. These are darker times to be defending. But that fire also has an actual gameplay purpose. So that fire will spread if you're not careful. So James has to wrap this battle up as quickly as he can, because if that fire spreads and rips through the buildings on the battlefield, not only are his guys going to suffer from serious morale penalties, he's also going to be left with a smouldering pile of rubble when he gets back to the campaign, which he doesn't want. So one of the other new features in Total War Attila is these barricades right here. So James is going to plonk down one of these barricades in these preset positions. Now, these positions are baked into the battle maps, and for big maps like this, there's a number of different barricade positions. And you can use these in a few different ways. You can put troops on them like this. So James has sensibly put a unit of crossbowmen on top of that barrier, which gives them a really nice line of sight so they can see over and they can get a nice kill zone. You can also funnel troops using these barricades as well. So if you think about how you place them at the start of the battle, you've kind of got another layer of a tactical element when you're actually planning out where these go. So you can see James is doing it from the tactical map here as well, which is sort of our big overview map of everything that's going on in the battle. You can pull up to this at any time. And here he's placing down some barricades in a way that kind of makes sense to him to funnel the AI through different areas. So he's basically trying to second guess what the AI is going to do, and he's trying to funnel them down to certain areas to give himself a tactical advantage. And that's going to be really important in this battle because he's up against it, like I said. Although he's got a city there, which he's defending, he's also up against it in terms of numbers. So the Western Roman Empire at this time is kind of crumbling. The walls are coming down, both in battle terms here, but also in terms of actually how they were doing historically. And here you can see the Saxons have got a really large force coming up against him. This is an ill-defended city. However, his troops have got more experience and more veterancy, so if he uses that wisely, he should be able to prosper in this battle. But we'll see. So you can see some of the different units. You saw the big onager units there. They're going to rain fire and destruction down on the city. We've also got these really fancy-looking axemen here. You know, these are really nice-looking units as well. When you get the camera down nice and close, you can see all this detail in Attila, and you can see how these guys might fight differently in the battle. They're going to be all about getting in your face with axes. They're going to be getting over the barricades, trying to find and exploit weaknesses in your defenses. So James has got all that to look forward to. We're going to see how the AI does. And James, without further ado, take it away, start the battle. So I'm joined also by Dom Starr, who's campaign designer, principal campaign designer on Total War Attila, but he knows these battles as well. And Al Bickham, studio communications manager as well, who are going to help me talk over this battle. So explain what you're seeing, basically. So James has begun with a minimum amount of faffing this time. Well done, James. So here we go. You can see he's got a crossbow infantry unit there on the walls. That's quite a sensible starting strategy. Get your crossbow units on the walls. He's firing with his onagers over on the enemy defenses as well.
Yeah, he wants to destroy those catapults before they can set fire to his city.
And they're going to return fire, and there's a lot more of those things as well. You can see the huge barrels coming down, really making a mess of his units that are defending that hole there. So James has got to make sure that that hole stays up, because, you know, if I'm the enemy and I see a big hole in the walls, I'm going to pile all my forces in that direction. So James has to make sure he sets up a strong system of defense there. It looks like he's going for spear units at the front. Very sensible. It means that if any cavalry come at him, he's going to be defended quite nicely there. He's also got a few guys behind the lines as well. And he's still got these guys on the wall as well, remember. But the enemy is going to push through that breach as much as they can. Don, what do you think of James's setup here? Is this a sensible kind of layout?
Well, I think he'll hold the breach for a while, but obviously he's well outnumbered, so he's going to have to fall back at a certain point, and obviously the barricades will help him do that. He can pull back to deeper levels of the city and, hopefully funnel them down, get them attacked by the turrets, the towers, and I don't think he has much of a chance, but we'll give him the benefit of the doubt for now.
So the enemy's doing pretty much what you would expect them to do. They've seen a bit of a gap there in James's defences, and they're going to try and exploit it and push through it. And you can see now that they've got one unit that's pushing through there. They're also bringing in supporting units to try and push through that gap and really punch a hole in his defences. And you can also see there's crossbow units in behind in support that James is going to have to find a way of dealing with, because they're going to be providing morale support and also fire support on those guys who are trying to push through that breach. Now, Al, we mentioned fire earlier. That's not just cosmetic, is it? That's actually got a gameplay influence as well.
Yeah, no, as you said, what it does, it demoralizes the defenders over time. So, the more buildings burn, the more morale will start falling, to the point where, you know what, if enough city is burnt, they might just bail, they might just head for the hills. Quite sensible, really. Alongside fire, another nice little feature that we have is something we've never had in Total War games before, in battles, is civilians. Now, you won't see any on a sort of semi-ruined city like this at a higher escalation level. But if you go into a fresh city and you don't siege it, you simply attack it, you'll see civilians wandering around, leading their daily lives, farming on the land and this kind of stuff. But, of course, when a load of Saxon invaders run in, they're gonna run for it. They're going to hide in buildings. They may actually pluck up some courage and attack the enemy with their pitchforks. They're probably not going to last very long, but they might slow the enemy up a bit,
So James has got, just to interrupt, sorry Al, James has got this expeditionary force of cavalry that he's actually placed outside of his city walls. And he's going to use those to try and deal with the enemy archery threat I was talking about earlier.
In fact, there are a lot more units now that you can deploy outside the normal deployment area, so scout units, so you can use those to your advantage, go around the back. They're not necessarily strong, but they can give you the upper hand.
And if these archery units they're kind of weak, they're just trying to provide fire support. If you have a cavalry unit that can get around the back of them quickly without them noticing while they're busy, preoccupied, attacking, supporting this advance, then you can really deal some damage if you get in the flanks and the sides. Flanking is always really important in Total War games. Getting around the back, getting around the sides, will cause some real damage to the back.
Another one of our new unit types is raiders. Now, these guys are relatively inexpensive, they're moderately tough, but they're very unruly. So what they do is, if you're fighting a battle with raiders on your side, you don't want to take them into, if you're trying to capture a city, you kind of don't want to actually take them into the city, because they'll just run around throwing torches around. They will pillage if you send them into a city. Now, that could work to your advantage if you're trying to damage that city as much as you can, damage the enemy city, that's great, but you kind of have to watch out and keep an eye on them, because they're rather ill-behaved, shall we say.
Of course, you come back to the campaign after that, you're going to have a ruined city, you're going to have to reinvest in fixing it, unless you sack it and move on.
Yeah, and it's important to note as well, any damage is persistent between the different states of the game. So if we see a lot of damage in this city here, we go back to the campaign map, the city's still going to be damaged, we're going to have to repair it, we're going to have to spend time and money repairing it. But if we don't repair it and we go into another battle there, that damage, again, will still be persistent back in the battle map.
So you see the enemy there, they're overwhelming one of these barricades that James has set up, and that will get destroyed over time. They're really going to pile the way through it. And now James is set up where he's already planned out that route that he hopes the enemy is going to go down. His plans are going to have to change, and he's going to have to adapt to that on the fly.
Something that James can use to his advantage is we've kind of redevelop the fatigue system, so you can get stuck into a fight and you'll lose fatigue quite quickly, but if you pull back, you'll also restore it quite quickly. So it sort of helps to have multiple layers of units, sort of doing a relay, if you will, of frontline combat.
Yeah, the battles have a nice sort of tactical, almost slower pacing to them, don't they? The way they play out, it's very much kind of some of the engagements are quite nice and tactical in themselves.
Also, when they rout, they don't necessarily just run straight from the battlefield. They're going to recover quite quickly from that and come back a couple of times. So there's some to and fro going on.
And there's some particularly nasty units in here, aren't there? I know there's one called the Chosen Ones. Is that it? The Chosen Ones for the Saxons that just basically almost won't break ever. Yeah. So good luck trying to rout them. They will fight to the last man, and if James comes up against them, how's it going, by the way, James?
I need to run. There are too many of them.
I noticed your walls kind of didn't hold there, and you've kind of retreated back to the sort of central plaza area. I see you've got a unit there just guarding that entrance ramp to the second tier. So you've got this kind of multi-level thing going on where you've pulled back to the upper tier. Is that a strategy that's worked for you before on this map? Is that something that you recommend?
But the problem is that they're closing in from all sides and that. But I think I've got my better units still alive, so they're the more Legionnaire style. So I need them as much. So I'm throwing away the spear unit here just to buy time.
So take your best, gentlemen. Do you think James is going to win this or not?
Well, if he keeps the general alive, he should be all right. I mean, he loses a general, then there'll be a loss of morale within his men.
How about you guys? Can we get a cheer if you think that... Sorry, Dom.
No, it's all good.
So let's get a cheer if you think that Dom's going to win this battle. Sorry, not Dom, James. Dom could win it, but he'd have to have very long arms.
No faith.
James. No one thinks he's going to win it. Cheer if you think he's going to lose it horribly on Twitch and on the Eurogamer stream. You know, that warms my heart.
Challenge accepted.
So they are the stakes, James. That is the situation you have to deal with. Oh, there we go. One dissenting voice at the back. So, Dom, what would you be doing in this situation right now?
I'm not quite sure about his barricade setup, but I would have tried to lead them around, let the towers do some attacking as well. Because obviously you have the towers around the outer limits of the city, and that really helps. It's like you're funneling them away, and yeah.
Can the enemy capture those towers as well?
Oh, they can. Yeah, obviously you can go completely against you if they do that. And, yeah.
But that's another good use of barricades, is funneling the enemy as they enter your city into kind of kill zones. So if you've got your crossbowmen set up, and crossbows are nice, cool, period-specific units we've got here. They're very high armor penetration. So the attrition over time against these heavily armored Saxon invaders is going to be really good. So, setting up those kind of kill zones which funnel, while you're funneling the enemy into your city can really work to your advantage.
But even if you don't have, say, archers to mount on top of it, you can mount your melee units, and it gives them an advantage, defensive advantage. Or, as you say, you can just use it to funnel them around.
Yeah.
So you've got a spear unit down there, James, with two other units. Do you think they're going to hold?
Enough time for my cavalry to get a good charge here. I think that's all I really need.
It's one of the good points about Total War, actually, beautifully illustrated by James here. It's all about multitasking. It's all about doing one thing and thinking about the next thing and trying to get your troops into another position. It's, you very much have to hold a kind of a graph of everything that's going on in your battle at once, because if you spend too long doing one thing, you're going to forget about the other stuff. So it's not too micro, but there is an element of kind of keeping it in your head what's going on in the battle. And the tactical map that we showed you earlier can really help with that, because it gives you a nice snapshot of everything that's going on in the battle.
James, did you just send your general in?
Did you just send your general in?
What are you doing?
My general's fine.
So it's worth saying
if
James loses his general, which has he actually lost him? No, he's still there.
No, he's all good.
If James loses his general, that's going to have a big impact on the morale of his entire army. That could basically be the end for him if he loses his general. So he's going to be careful about not throwing away his general like that. How are you feeling, James?
Very good. That one unit of spearmen plus with the archer fire from the high ground is absolutely tearing them apart. A weak unit was managing to do so much damage to a good unit simply because of the heavy shot of my what they call crossbows.
Yeah, that heavy shot.
Sorry,
ability.
Trying to play and talk.
That's all right. That heavy shot ability is pretty devastating.
I'm good at it.
So that heavy shot ability that James used on his crossbow guys can really rip through enemy armor, and it's pretty effective against most units, really, as you would expect. Heavy shot is going to do a lot of damage. However, James also has to think about the amount of ammunition he has for his army as well, for his individual units. He has to make sure he uses that ammunition well, chooses his encounters, picks his one-on-ones really carefully.
So, you can see it, the architecture and the kind of unit types here. We're approaching almost medieval era. The Dark Ages. It's the start of that kind of period in time.
It's a far cry from the glittering marble cities.
Exactly.
Although there are some ruins you see around the city.
Yeah.
Just to remind you of what was there before.
Yeah. And of course, this architecture changes across the different cultures across the map. So across the campaign map. So. Later on, you'll see sort of Byzantine cities, beautiful glittering domes of the sort of the Eastern Roman Empire, Constantinople.
So worth saying it's important how you use roads as well in the cities, because they will confer a charge bonus and a movement speed bonus to enemy units or your own units as well. So if you can line up a charge down a street, that's a really effective tactic, and especially when you're funneling people down certain streets with the barricades, you can almost plan that out in advance. So James has managed to rout quite a few of the enemy units there. He's got, what's he got? A couple of, oh, still one of them came back there, one of the crossbow units. A very light bow infantry there. So James is just going to chase those guys back down with his cavalry. Try and make sure that they don't come back at his city.
James, don't want you to lose or anything, but could you take a moment to look at the fire in the city? Sort of the devastation that it's doing.
He's in the zone.
He's in the fire in the city.
James,
don't fight.
have a look at the fire.
There's a massive line of bodies along the city front there.
Pick a fire.
So, yeah, that is basically Earl's Court. That is the site of Earl's Court we're looking at right there, on fire. Don't worry, there's not an actual fire. There's a proper drill for that, don't worry. But yeah, you can see how that fire spread over time. And actually, there's a morale indicator up at the top, which James can look at every now and again, which lets him know how that fire is affecting his units on a global basis. So it's actually just gone from green to orange, which I guess isn't good, James.
I think I'm doing very well. Everyone's jeering has spurred me on.
He's like this in the office as well.
Balance is in his
Oh.
favor. Balance is in his favour.
Don't break.
Yeah.
So how many units have they got left, James? 1, 2. Looking pretty good. You can see the balance of power bar right up there at the top, the yellow and red there. So James is in yellow, and he started off kind of 2/3 against him, of red against him, and he's now kind of pulled it back to 2/3 yellow rather than 2/3 red.
He may not lose.
He may not lose. He may actually pull this back.
That general unit is not easy.
So you have gatehouses as well. You have kind of all kinds of like the kind of mod cons you would expect with a city of this size at this time. Different kind of defenses. You were saying there's the towers, there's gatehouses, and they can all be controlled, taken over by the enemy, and forced shut, rammed open, all that kind of stuff. So there's a lot of kind of preset defenses there, walls as well that you can use.
Multiple layers that you can retreat to. And
So it looks like we're getting down to a pretty final-looking encounter here, where James is just trying to get back to that breach because he sees the enemy unit coming towards there, and he's also engaging them with his spear units just there in the back, whilst he's kind of baited them towards the wall there. And that is their general, I believe, James. He really is in the zone, isn't he?
I think they've already won. They're shaking their swords.
Goading. Yeah, come at us.
How's the enemy general doing?
He's dead, isn't he?
Is he gone?
I think he's dead. Oh no, there he is.
Finish him.
Come on, James. Get out there. Finish him
I'm
off.
going, don't worry. I'll be there.
Oh, he's going first person, third person cam. He means business.
Axemen. Ouch.
Looks like this is the final Saxon stand. They look pretty undeterred though. They're really going at it with those axes.
Where's the flank? It just gives us that lovely smoothing of the trees in the landscape.
Talking of the trees, you can also set fire to the trees. So if someone's trying to have hide in the trees outside your settlement or in the field,
Burn them down.
burn them down.
I think you won it, James, didn't you?
Yep.
I think he has won.
That's it. That's a win. That's a wrap.
Well done, James.